AITA for tell her husband she cheat on my wife. We live in a quiet neighborhood where everyone mostly keeps to themselves. But about a year ago, a new couple moved in next door, Hannah and her husband, Luke. They seem nice, friendly, the kind of neighbors who would wave if they saw you, mowing the lawn and occasionally bring over extra baked goods. We started talking more often, sharing small things, extra groceries, recipes, little conversations by the fence. Hannah and I became close quickly. We'd have coffee together a few times a week, talk about everything from work stress to family issues. I thought she was someone I could trust, but about a month ago, she suddenly stopped coming by. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then Marcus noticed I was ignoring her when she tried to say hello. He asked what happened. I brushed it off, saying I just wanted to keep some distance. But deep down, I was uncomfortable and unsure about what to say, because the truth was she'd crossed a line. It started with comments about how lucky Marcus must be to have me. I laughed them off at first. Then, late one night, she sent me a message saying she'd developed feelings for me, that she thought I was amazing and beautiful, and that she wanted to be with me, even if it meant hiding it from our husbands. I was stunned. I replied right away, telling her I wasn't interested. I made it clear that I loved my husband and had no desire to betray him. I blocked her number. I thought that was the end of it. But Marcus noticed the shift, and one day, while I was in the shower, he checked my phone. He saw the messages. When I came out, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, his face pale. He asked why I hadn't told him. I tried to explain that I just wanted the situation to go away quietly, that I'd already blocked her, that I didn't want to stir up drama with the neighbors. But he was furious. If it had been a man, he said, I would have gone straight over there. This isn't okay. Before I could stop him, Marcus forwarded the messages to Hannah's husband, Luke, with a short message. I think you need to know what your wife has been doing. Later that evening, Luke came to our door. He didn't yell. He didn't even cry. He just thanked Marcus for telling him and walked away. Now Hannah and Luke's marriage is falling apart. Word has spread. Hannah hasn't looked at me once since, though I've seen her car leaving at odd hours. And I'm left wondering if I did the right thing. Because Marcus and I are fine, stronger, even, but I can't help feeling guilty. I handled the situation the way I thought was best. I set boundaries. I protected my marriage. But Marcus says that wasn't enough. That if the roles were reversed, I'd want to know. And maybe he's right. Still, I keep thinking about Hannah's face when she saw me last. She looked broken. So, AITA for not stopping my husband from telling her husband? Was it my responsibility to handle it quietly when I had already shut it down? Or was Marcus right that her husband deserved to know?
You're not the villain here. You drew clear boundaries, rejected advances, and tried to keep peace without drama. Marcus's decision to tell Luke was messy, but rooted in loyalty and transparency. Sometimes honesty stings, but it prevents worse betrayals later. Feeling guilty is natural. It shows empathy, but protecting your marriage matters most. You acted responsibly. The fallout belongs to those who caused it, not your burden to silently carry someone else's consequences. So, no, you're not Aita. The next story. It makes everything before look like a warm-up.
Ada for getting upset when my friend pressured me about marriage. Last weekend, Linda was in town, so we got together for dinner. At first, everything was great. We talked about work, travel plans, family, the usual stuff. Then, after a bit, Linda asked me, so, what are your plans for the next 6 months? I answered honestly, I want to keep saving money, maybe look for a new job, and definitely plan a trip abroad by the end of the year. Marriage isn't on the table for me anytime soon, I added, trying to keep it light. Linda raised her eyebrows and said, wait, you don't plan on getting married? I thought you wanted that. I took a breath and explained, I want to be in a relationship, yes. But marriage? No. I don't think I need a piece of paper to prove commitment. That's when things shifted. Linda launched into a lecture about the importance of marriage, how it protects your rights, creates stability, and how she knows couples who are perfectly happy with joint accounts and shared lives. She gave examples of her married friends, talking about how marriage worked for them and why it should work for me. I tried to tell her that independence means a lot to me, that I want to keep my finances and life separate just in case things don't work out. That love doesn't require merging everything. But Linda didn't seem to hear me. She then said, but Mia, if you don't get married, you'll be alone when you're older. You're an only child, right? Your parents won't be around forever. And without a spouse, what happens then? When you're my age, you'll change your mind. I felt like my feelings and choices were dismissed, like I was naive or short-sighted. I didn't know how to respond, so I just kept quiet and focused on my meal. Linda tried changing the subject, but I could feel the tension between us. After dinner, I apologized for my cold attitude. I told her honestly that I didn't agree with what she was saying and that I felt pressured. She told me not to worry, that she didn't want this to cause drama between us. Now, I'm left wondering, did I overreact? Was I being unreasonable? Is it normal for friends to push their beliefs so hard? And should I try to act like nothing happened next time we meet? I want to stay true to myself, but I don't want to lose a friendship over this either.
You're not Aita here. Friends sometimes play unsolicited therapist. therapists, but crossing from concern into pressure isn't cool. Linda's insistence ignored your boundaries and dismissed your perspective, which feels less like caring and more like control. Staying authentic doesn't mean burning bridges. It means calmly reinforcing your values. Next time, a gentle but firm, "I respect your views, but this is my choice," might save both feelings and friendships. No need to swallow discomfort, just to keep peace that's exhausting and unnecessary. So no, you didn't overreact. You stood your ground, which is exactly what's needed. The next story laughs in insanity.
Ada for telling my boyfriend I'm not comfortable with him partying with his ex. Ryan has a close-knit group of friends he's known for years. They throw parties often, usually at someone's house or at clubs in the city. I've gone to a few, and I enjoy them most of the time. But here's the issue. His ex, Leah, is always there. This isn't some old high school fling. Leah and Ryan were together for 3 years, and from what I know, it was a serious relationship. He says they broke up amicably and stayed friends. I've tried to be okay with that. I understand that people can be civil with their exes, but these parties, it's not just casual hellos and polite small talk. They drink together, dance together, make jokes only they seem to understand. It's hard not to feel like an outsider when I'm standing there watching them laugh about things I'm not part of. I finally brought it up last weekend after he posted a story from one of the parties. Just him and Leah on the dance floor with the caption, "Throwback moves." My stomach dropped when I saw it. I waited until we were in person and calmly told him it made me uncomfortable. He brushed it off. "Anna, you're being insecure. You have to trust me. Leah and I are friends. That's it." I told him I do trust him, but it's about boundaries. You choose to go to these parties, I said. You choose to spend time with her like that. I wouldn't do the same to you if the roles were reversed. Ryan got defensive. "I can't control who gets invited," he said. "What do you want me to do? Stop seeing my friends?" "No," I said, "but I'd expect you to care that this bothers me. You could skip one party. You could draw a line." That's when he said something that really stuck with me. "Real trust means you shouldn't care. If you trusted me, this wouldn't even be an issue." I didn't know what to say. I sat there thinking about how I would handle it if the situation were reversed. If an ex I'd dated for years was at every party and I was posting videos dancing with him, I wouldn't, because I'd know it would hurt Ryan. Now I'm torn. Ryan thinks I'm overreacting and trying to control him. But to me, it's about respect. Respect for how I feel and for the relationship we've built. I haven't brought it up again because I'm scared it'll just lead to another argument. But it's been on my mind constantly, and part of me is wondering if this is something I can live with long term. So Ada for telling my boyfriend I'm not comfortable with him partying with his ex? Or am I being unreasonable like he says?
You're not, Aita. Expressing discomfort about constant cozy interactions with an ex is completely fair. Ryan dismissing your feelings instead of finding compromise shows a lack of empathy, not proof of real trust. Boundaries aren't control, they're respect. If roles reversed, he'd likely object to. My suggestion, calmly restate how this affects you and ask if he values the relationship enough to meet you halfway. Humor bonus, he wants throwback moves. Maybe suggest he try the moonwalk out the door with Leah. Next up, drama so thick you could slice it with a butter knife.
AITA for telling my SIL she's not a better parent just because she's a mom. My husband, Marco, is one of 5 siblings. Most of them are married and have kids, so family gatherings can be chaotic, but I usually enjoy them. We're a close-knit group most of the time. Marco's older brother, Adrian, just lost his wife, Laura, 3 months ago. She passed away from complications after giving birth to their daughter, Isla. It's been heartbreaking for everyone, but especially for Adrian. He's trying so hard to care for Isla on his own while grieving. My in-laws moved him and the baby into their house to help, and everyone has been pitching in. Everyone, except for my sister-in-law, Emily. She's married to Marco's oldest brother and has 2 kids herself. Emily has a way of making these little comments about Adrian being a single dad, things like, "That baby really needs a mother," or "You can't fill both roles, Adrian." At first it was subtle, but lately it's gotten worse. The thing is, Emily isn't exactly a hands-on parent herself. She has nannies and childcare lined up almost every day. I'm not judging her for that. She had a rough childhood and struggles with connection, but she is working on it. Still, hearing her criticize Adrian when she barely spends time with her own kids feels cruel. This all came to a head last Sunday at our family brunch. Isla started crying, which isn't unusual. There are about 10 kids under 8 running around. But Emily sighed loudly and said, maybe if she were breastfed, she wouldn't be crying so much. I glanced at Adrian, who looked like he wanted to disappear. Then Emily added, if Laura were still here, this would all be so much easier. Maybe it's time you started dating again so Isla can have a mother figure. That that was it for me. I lost my temper. I told Emily she had no right to judge Adrian, that she wasn't exactly the most involved parent herself, and that being a mother didn't automatically make her a better parent than Adrian. I may have raised my voice more than I should have, but I was furious. Emily's face went pale. She stood up and walked out, and her husband followed, grabbing their kids on the way out. After they left, the rest of the family told me I was right to defend Adrian. We all stayed and finished brunch, but now Emily and her husband are blowing up my phone saying I humiliated her. They think I was out of line. I know I could have handled it better, but I also think someone needed to stand up for Adrian. So, AITA for telling my sister-in-law she isn't a better parent just because she's a mom?
You're not Aita. Emily's remarks were cruel, timed horribly, and dripping with hypocrisy. Defending Adrian when he was cornered was the right call, even if your delivery was heated. Yes, you could have been calmer, but watching someone get kicked while grieving makes saintly patience impossible. Suggestion: don't apologize for the message, just for the volume. Humor: tell Emily you'll host a parenting Olympics and she can demonstrate her gold medal nanny delegation skills. The next story comes in swinging like a soap opera on steroids.
Aita for jogging an extra round because another jogger motivated me, and now my girlfriend wants to leave? Yesterday, I went for a run at the park. It was raining lightly, and by the time I finished my 7th lap, I was ready to head home. Then, as I slowed down, I noticed another jogger enter the path. She was running with this determined look on her face, pushing herself even though the weather was miserable. It made me want to push myself too, so I decided to do one more lap. That was it. I didn't speak to her. I didn't even make eye contact. I just ran one more round and then went home. When I got back, I told Melissa about my run. I mentioned that seeing another person out in the rain motivated me to push through that last lap. I thought it was a harmless comment, but as soon as I said she, Melissa's entire expression changed. She asked me to repeat myself. I explained it again, clarifying that it wasn't about the person being a woman. It was just encouraging to see someone else out there in bad weather, still putting in the effort. She said she felt disrespected. The rest of the night spiraled from there. She started throwing my things around the apartment, yelling that I was immature and unfaithful. In spirit, she packed her bags and told me she was leaving in the morning and that we would never speak again. I tried for hours to calm the situation down. I told her I hadn't even looked at the jogger beyond noticing she was there. I said I understood, that the word inspired may have sounded strange and that maybe motivated would have been better, but nothing I said helped. At one point I locked myself in the bedroom to get some space, but she lied to get me to open the door, then came in and screamed at me more. After nearly 6 hours of arguing, I broke down and apologized just so she would stop threatening to leave. Eventually, she said she would stay. She apologized for how she handled it, but also told me that I should try saying something like that to any woman and see if they react any differently. I'm honestly confused. I keep replaying it in my head, wondering if I really did something wrong. To me, it felt no different than when people at the gym motivate each other just by working hard nearby. Melissa, though, sees it as disrespectful. I know her reaction was extreme, but was I out of line for even mentioning it? Should I have just kept the story to myself? I don't want to be the reason this relationship falls apart, but I also don't understand how something so small blew up like this. So Aita?
Not AITA. Your remark was innocuous. Her reaction was disproportionate and concerning. Set firm boundaries. Request a calm debrief when emotions are low. And consider counseling if outbursts persist. State plainly, admiration of effort isn't betrayal. Next. Time. Say the rain coached your extra lap clouds. Rarely get jealous. Next story drops like a bomb. Zero chill. Maximum shock.
Aita for confronting my brother about never cleaning up, only for him to push me and threaten suicide? We've lived together most of our lives, and lately things have been getting tense. Mason has always been a bit careless about the shared space. He leaves his clothes scattered around, never washes his dishes, and often forgets to flush the toilet. The laundry basket is in the bathroom, right where he changes, but he leaves clothes lying on the floor almost every day. One afternoon, I saw his clothes yet again on the bathroom floor. I try to be calm, but firm when I asked him why he never puts his dirty clothes in the basket. He looked confused, like he didn't remember doing it. Then he said I was always angry with him, and that I should just ask him every time instead of assuming. That's when I got frustrated. I told him that living together means we all need to do our part without reminders. It's not just the clothes. He never cleans his dishes, never helps clear the table, sometimes leaves food out without putting it back, and for a couple of weeks earlier this year, he even stopped flushing the toilet. My other brother had to confront him about that one. Mason's reaction was was sudden and loud. He shouted about how he does things I don't, like taking out the bins and mowing the lawn once a month. He told me to shut up and go away. Then, standing up, he pushed past me forcefully as he left the dining room. I shouldn't have followed him, but I did. I told him he had no right to push me and that if he didn't want me around, he should go to his room. He kept yelling at me to shut up and go away. At that moment, our dad came home. I told him what happened, explaining that Mason pushed me. But Dad gathered us all and told me I sometimes speak too aggressively and that he was glad Mason never yelled back. There was no mention of Mason's aggression or the fact that he had pushed me. The argument started again. Mason said, "I can get 3 times angrier than this. I'm a crazy person with anxiety medication." Then he said something that broke my heart. "I'm going to kill myself. I'm so sick of this." Mason is currently on a few months off work, studying an online course on the side. This was the first time I learned he's been dealing with anxiety. I know I could have approached him more gently, and I regret how I began the conversation. But I'm exhausted from constantly having to remind him to clean up or do his part. Now I'm stuck, unsure if I handled this right or if I made everything worse. I want to support Mason, but also feel safe in my own home. So, am I the Aita here?
You're not Aita. Living together means shared responsibility, but mental health struggles complicate everything. Mason's threat is serious focus on getting him professional help immediately. Your frustration is valid, but compassion and patience must balance boundaries. Suggest setting clear chores with kindness, and don't face his outbursts alone. Humor. Maybe propose a laundry treasure hunt game except nobody wins if the floor is the prize. Next up, betrayal, chaos, and a twist you'll never see coming.
AITA for stopping financial support to my mom after finding out she lied about needing money. Last month, my girlfriend, Mia, and I went to Carol's city unexpectedly to visit. She wasn't home, but the neighbor, a friendly woman named June, mentioned Carol had just returned from a week-long trip to the coast. That confused me because a few weeks ago, Mom had told me she was too weak to even walk and needed money for treatments. After that visit, I decided to confront her. When I asked about the trip, she avoided the question at first, but eventually admitted there was no treatment. Instead, she used the money I sent to pay for the cruise and dinners with a man she had recently met. This wasn't the first time either. I found out from other family members that she's been spending my money on expensive hair salons, fancy clothes, and nights out, not on essentials. I felt betrayed, so I told her I wouldn't send money anymore unless she was honest with me about her needs. She got very upset, accused me of being cold and abandoning her. She said I was acting like I didn't care about my own mother. My 2 sisters are split on this. One supports me, saying I have the right to protect myself from being taken advantage of. The other says I should just accept it because Mom sacrificed so much for us. I'm left wondering if I'm wrong for cutting her off until she's truthful. Did I go too far?
You're not Aita. Protecting your resources from misuse isn't cold, it's responsible. Enabling dishonesty only prolongs harm for you and your mother. Setting boundaries is necessary, especially when trust erodes. Your sister's viewpoint, that sacrifice demands blind acceptance, ignores healthy limits. Suggest honest conversations, and maybe seek family counseling to address deeper issues. Humor. Maybe offer Mom a budget-friendly cruise in the backyard next time. You're ready for the next story? You're not.
Aita for cutting off my mother-in-law after she ignores my son but dotes on her other grandkids? I'm 27, and I've been married to my husband, Ethan, for 3 years now. We have a 1-year-old daughter named Lily. Ethan has an older brother, Mark, who has a toddler, Noah. Mark and his girlfriend broke up, so their son Noah splits time between his mom's place in another state and Mark's mom, my mother-in-law, Diane. Diane is very involved in Mark's life and especially attached to Noah. She practically raised Noah when he was little and spoils him endlessly. Diane can't drive, so her wife, Karen, does all the driving for her. Diane will make that long trip with Karen to visit Mark and Noah regularly, and she always posts pictures online calling Noah her little guy and shows constant affection. Now here's the hard part. After Lily was born, Diane refuses to come visit us at our home, even though we live only 5 minutes away. She insists that I bring Lily to their place for visits. Our car broke down recently, and I told Diane it's not feasible to walk with a baby that far. She didn't care and said if Lily was important, I would find a way. When we do manage to visit Diane's house, which is rare, she barely acknowledges Lily. She doesn't play with her, doesn't hold her, barely speaks to her. Instead, she spends all her attention on Noah and talks nonstop about his upcoming birthday or new milestones. At Lily's first birthday party, Diane stayed for about 15 minutes, sat apart from everyone, and didn't engage with Lily or the guests. Ethan feels the same way. He's tired of Diane's clear favoritism and how she treats treats Lily like an outsider. We're planning to move to a new city soon, and Ethan wants to cut off contact with Diane and Karen entirely. I'm conflicted because I want Lily to have family, but I can't stand watching her being ignored. We also aren't sure what to do about Mark's sister, Sarah, who often supports Diane's behavior and says we're overreacting. So, Ada, if I block Diane, Karen, and maybe even Sarah once we move, I just want what's best for my daughter and to stop this hurtful behavior.
You're not AITA. Prioritizing your child's emotional safety over toxic favoritism is wise. Diane's neglect toward Lily and insistence on inconvenient visits show clear disrespect. Cutting ties can be necessary when family becomes harmful. Sarah, enabling this behavior, only complicates healing. Suggest open conversation before moving, but don't hesitate to protect your daughter's well-being. Humor, the spotlight, the next one. It's a full-blown emotional roller coaster with no seatbelt.
Ada for asking my landlord to refund my last month's rent because he started renovating before my lease ended. When I first moved in, my landlord, Mr. Clark, managed everything personally. No agents, no middlemen, just him and me. Over the years, things were mostly smooth. Repairs got done when necessary, and rent was paid on time. Now my lease is set to end August 31st. I told Mr. Clark I'd be moving out on July 31st, a month early, which is allowed with proper notice. He asked for my last month's rent upfront for August, which I paid without hesitation. A few weeks ago, Mr. Clark suddenly hired a rental agent to start showing the apartment. This agent made it clear the unit was outdated and would need a serious overhaul before it could rent again. I didn't think much of it. I was moving on anyway. Then, last week, I got an email that contractors would begin renovating the apartment starting August 1st. That's the day after I planned to move out. They'll be replacing floors, cabinets, and appliances. Noise, dust, the works. Here's the problem. My rent for August is still with Mr. Clark, but I won't be living there for that month. The apartment won't be livable during renovations either. It feels unfair that I'm paying full rent for a place I can't use, and that's under construction. I reached out to Mr. Clark and politely asked if he could refund my last month's rent or at least discount it because of the renovations. He got defensive and said the lease is clear that rent is due through August and that the renovations are his business, not mine. I get his point, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I'm paying for something I won't have access to. I'm already making arrangements to leave early and find a new place. It's frustrating to feel stuck financially. So, Ada for asking for a refund or a partial refund of my last month's rent given the circumstances.
You're not AITA. Paying for unusable space during major work feels unreasonable. Even if contracts are strict, fairness matters. Mr. Clark's sudden renovations, without adjusting rent, show a lack of consideration. Suggest negotiating a compromise refund or rent credit for the inconvenience. Tell him if he's renovating while you're gone. At least have the dust do the cleaning for free. Next story goes from 0 to what just happened in seconds.
AITA for being harsh with my parents after years of pain and silence. My dad's childhood was difficult. He lost both his parents before he turned 6 and had to live with his older brother, who also passed away years ago. He never had much support or stability growing up. He started working manual jobs early and never really had the chance to process his pain. So he's always been emotionally distant with me. He never asked how I was doing or showed real care when I was hurt or upset. When he gets mad, he shouts and sometimes hits me or my siblings instead of talking. That's just how things have been. My mom is very different. She tries to be there emotionally, even though she's had her own tough past. But 4 years ago, I found out she had an affair with a married man. I saw messages where they said things like, "I love you and I miss you." She told me she felt guilty and was trying to change, but I still catch her keeping contact with him. That broke my trust in her. Even though I love her, I can't forget what she did. Lately, my parents' arguments have gotten worse. One night, my dad hit my brother during a fight. I was injured and couldn't walk away like I usually do, so I stepped in to tell my dad he was wrong. He got angry and we started shouting. I told him he's never acted like a real father, that he only knows how to yell and hit us. I know I was rude and loud, but I was hurting inside. After that fight, he started trying to check in on me more, which was new. But then just a few days ago, he hit my brother again. I told him to leave us alone so I could help my brother calm down. That sparked another fight between me and my dad. He raised his hand at me and my mom, overwhelmed, started breaking things around the house. That moment felt like everything was falling apart. Afterwards, I helped clean up and talked with my brother about what to do next. When I went to tell my mom to rest, she told me I was wrong to shout at my dad and disrespect him. She said I should have shown more respect to my elders, since that's what our culture values. I told her I understood, but that didn't excuse my dad's behavior. She got upset, and I told her I still struggle with her cheating. I said everyone makes mistakes, but some things are hard to forgive. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I feel exhausted carrying all this pain. insane. Sometimes I feel like I'm the adult in the family while everyone else is broken. So, am I the Aita for speaking my mind and being harsh with my parents after everything? I just want some peace and honesty in my family.
You're not Aita. Speaking truth amid chaos isn't disrespect, it's survival. Your frustration reflects years of unaddressed hurt, and setting boundaries against abuse is essential. Your parents' flaws don't excuse violence or emotional neglect. Healing takes honesty, not silence. Suggest seeking outside support therapy or trusted adults to help break the cycle. Humor. Maybe you deserve an award for most responsible family member while everyone else figures out the manual. The next story is so insane, even fiction tapped out.
AITA for telling my friend that her new boyfriend might be using steroids. One of my close friends, Mia, 20, recently started dating a guy named Jordan, 20. They met online about a month ago, and she's been really excited about him. The other day, she was showing me pictures of him because she knows I'm into fitness and go to the gym almost every day. As soon as I saw the photos, I couldn't help but notice things that didn't look natural. His arms were massive, almost the size of his head. His shoulders and traps were unusually large compared to the rest of his body. His skin had that constant red flush I've only ever seen on guys cycling certain substances, and there was a lot of acne on his back and shoulders. I've been lifting for a long time, and even people with perfect diets and training routines don't usually look like that at 20. I didn't mean it in a mean way, but I told Mia that I thought Jordan might be using steroids. She immediately got defensive and said I was making accusations for no reason. She told me he just trains really hard and eats clean, and that not everyone's body is the same. I explained the specific signs I noticed and told her it wasn't me trying to put him down. I just wanted her to be aware because steroids can mess with someone's health and mood. She got even more upset and said I was just jealous because Jordan is bigger than me. I tried to make it clear that I wasn't jealous. I even said his physique doesn't really look balanced or proportional to me and that I train for a different aesthetic, but she wouldn't hear it. She accused me of attacking him and told me to stop making assumptions about someone I'd never met. Now she's been distant since the conversation. I feel like I was just being honest and looking out for her, but maybe I shouldn't have said anything. She's only known him for a short time and doesn't really know much about him yet, so I thought it was worth mentioning. The ITA for bringing it up at all.
You're not Aita. Your observation came from concern, not malice, and you explained your reasoning clearly. Mia's defensiveness is understandable. New relationships make people protective, but it doesn't make your input wrong. Sometimes, friends need to hear uncomfortable truths, even if they reject them. My advice? Give her space. Remind her you care about her safety, and let time soften the sting. Humor. Maybe next time, compliment his Hulk cosplay and leave it at that. Coming up, a plot twist so wild, it filed for its own zip code.
AITA I-29F went through my husband's 34M phone and found messages that broke my trust. My husband, Daniel, and I have been together for almost 9 years, married for 4. I always believed we had a strong relationship built on trust and honesty. We've always tried to talk openly, even when the conversations were hard. I love him deeply, and until now, I thought we were completely solid. Daniel has dated other people before me, but I'm his only serious relationship. He's mentioned a few times over the years that he sometimes wonders if he missed out on experiences. I've told him repeatedly that if this ever became a real issue for him, we could talk about it. I even said I would consider opening the relationship so he could be sure he was with me because he wanted to be, not because he felt obligated. Daniel works for a consulting firm and recently connected with a new client named Claire. From the beginning, I could tell she was flirty. One afternoon, while we were both working from home, I overheard part of their video call. He was laughing and smiling more than usual, and I noticed him blush at something she said. Later, he mentioned that she was just a charmer and brushed it off. The next day, he met her in person for a meeting. Claire apparently made flirty remarks to him and others in the room. When the meeting ended, she asked him for his number. He told me later, laughing, that she already had it from work. I told him it hurt to hear and wished he had been more direct, maybe reminding her he was married or that it wasn't appropriate. He said he didn't want to make things awkward or upset a client. I understood, even though it bothered me. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. A week later, she called him directly and asked him out. He giggled when he told me and brushed it off again. I told him that I was uncomfortable and wished he'd shut it down firmly. He got defensive, saying it was harmless and didn't mean anything. Then she texted him. She laid out an entire date plan, brunch, coffee, an activity in the evening, and more. He told me about the text, but didn't say he would block her. That night, for the first time in our entire relationship, I looked through his phone while he was in the shower. What I found broke me. It wasn't innocent at all. They were flirting back and forth and talking about how much fun they'd have. Then, the conversation shifted. She texted, "So, what can I expect expect as a thank you for this amazing day we're planning? He replied, I could tell you, but it's more fun to show you. She wrote back, you're going to show me with every inch of that body, aren't you? And then she sent a very suggestive picture. He responded, hey, I got carried away, but this is going too far. I'm married, and I shouldn't have let it get to this point. I just really enjoyed the attention. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong idea, but I need to step back now. She replied, please, if your wife was satisfying you, you wouldn't be this interested in me. That ring doesn't mean anything. Secrets just make this hotter. He didn't answer after that. I feel crushed. He never actually met her outside of work, but he clearly crossed a line. I told him more than once that I was uncomfortable, and he ignored me until it spiraled out of control. I haven't confronted him yet because I don't know how. Part of me wonders if I'm overreacting since nothing physical happened, but another part of me feels like my trust in him is shattered. Is this emotional cheating? Do I tell him I saw the messages? Do I try to work through it, or is my marriage already over? And most of all, AITA for going through his phone, even though I only did it because I felt something was seriously wrong? Or am I just holding on to a relationship that might already be broken?
You're not AITA. Your instincts were spotting. And snooping while not ideal confirmed serious boundary crossing. Daniel's flirtation and dismissive attitude broke the trust you worked to protect. Emotional cheating can be just as damaging, as physical betrayal, and brushing it aside won't fix anything. Be honest about what you saw and how it hurt you. Suggest counseling if you want to rebuild, but don't ignore the cracks. Humor. Maybe tell him client satisfaction isn't part of his job description. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell us your favorite story in the comments. If you liked this video, you'll love watching AITA for not taking blame for sister's mess. Click to watch now.